Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday morning where we are reckless and we have established a reckless three over here. Kazi is here as always on a Friday. What's happening?
Good morning, young Tim. I believe we have a little a super sub coming in.
We do have a super sub. Anana's running around in Michigan with a mattress on his head, trying to do some stuff. So Gally is filling in. Gally, what's happening?
Not too much. I figured the only way to sub in for an Arab was to show up on Arab time, as he would have liked to have said. So I thought I'd get here right at 10 o'clock on the dot.
Yeah, actually, that's a little early for Anan. Usually he shows up too past or something like that. But okay, it's Friday. Obviously, the biggest thing to talk about, I think, there's a lot to take out of, or maybe not, the press conference and some of the things he said. Because honestly, like the biggest conversation was going to be probably this morning, and I was kind of waiting for the press conference, is how much of a rotation are we going to rock the same 11 all the way, try to get those maximum points and put all the naysayers to rest kind of a deal, or are we going to give some people more minutes, more chances and stuff like that? Kazi, I will start with you. He basically said, and I quote over here, here we go, it's the end of the season, but we also have to look at this as the start of next season already. There will be certain rotation in the upcoming games. My lineups will be different towards the one we had during the last 10 months. He even admits that the right lineup has not changed in 10 months. We're not going to change everyone, but there will be a few players that come into the team. What do you take out of that when he says only a few players?
I mean, yeah, I kind of expected that, really. I kind of expected 4 or 5 changes, I would say.
Because I take few as like 2 or
Well,
maybe 3 at most.
I've got a feeling that the midfield could be 2 at least, maybe an Endo and a Jones, or an Elliott, because he's mentioned Javier today. He has a big conversation around right back. I don't know if Bradley's fit or not. I'm not sure. And then up front, Jota, Nunes. I don't think Nunes can start the game. We've got to pay 5 million quid, so maybe not Nunes. And then Diaz, Gakpo, Kostas, Robertson. There's options there for him. I'm banging to start and Jaros the last 4 games so we can get a medal as well, because I'm just kind of like that. But Chiesa, I can't see Chiesa starting. I just can't see it.
No, it would be like a great shocker, though.
And there's more chance of getting Jaden Dans back and him starting than Chiesa, I reckon. So I do expect that. There's also parts, I mentioned this last night on the Thursday podcast, there's a respect element in the squad. So when you're trying to sell something to a team, an idea and a story in August, we're all in this together, everyone's got their part to play. Well, there's lads there who haven't really played a part this season. And there has to be that respect element and going, okay, now it's your turn to go and get your medals and go, impress me kind of thing. The manager's mentioned this a few times in press conferences that he likes his team, he likes his lads, and he doesn't really see the subs training often because they train on separate kind of things. Because for example, this is how it works, for the people who don't know, if you don't play any kind of minutes, you basically go in and do a full session anyway, or just like a training session. So sometimes the manager's there, sometimes he's working in recovery or he's working with the other players and he just doesn't really get to see them. He's mentioned this before regarding Elliott and things. So nice to see. Hopefully he does stick to that plan. I would like to see 4 or 5. At this point, I don't really care if we win or not, to be honest. So I'm completely fine with seeing 5.
Yeah, see, the part of that is where he says start of the next season, Gally. So you would think there has to be a little bit of, I mean, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, where we said he's probably already made, decisions have already been made, kind of a deal. So if he's talking about looking ahead to next year, don't you think he would be giving minutes to people who have a chance of staying over here as opposed to a guy who's going to be out the door?
I do. And he kind of made that comment too. Like, even when he said we're going to bring a few other guys in or there's going to be changes, I wonder if that's not also saying, like, in some ways, like, I may give a senior player like a Soboslai the whole day off. He won't even be on the bench and I'm bringing McConnell in, or I'm going to get Neone some run. I think it could end up being some kids getting minutes, the kids we saw earlier in the year. And I'm not talking like full starts, but if he believes that McConnell is one of his 6 for next season, 7, if he's the 7, Kazi always says you want to have like a full rotation for everyone plus 1 or 2 extras, right? Like, so you want 7 in your midfield. If you have a 22-man playing squad, 7 of them are the midfield. If he right now, to your point, he's got McConnell penciled in as the 7th guy, or he thinks Neone and McConnell have a shot to take that step forward and be first teamers next year, play a bigger role. Maybe it's even a Bacetic. I know he's not here, but like a placeholder. I could see that kid getting a bench, making a bench over the next 4 matches and maybe getting 15 minutes at the end of a match. You know, those minutes we all scream for Chiesa every week. And to your point, if Chiesa gets 1 more appearance or no more appearances, then the message has been written in the stars for the God. I hope he gets something because I think he's too useful and talented a footballer to jettison off for a break-even fee. If you did want to sell him, let him play 90 minutes from here to the end of the year and give Juventus something to think about. Like, give the teams in Italy something to think about. I think we see a couple kids get some time on the bench. I think you might see a Szoboszlai get a day off completely, maybe even a Gravenberch. As much as I think Gravenberch probably wants to start all 4 matches just to say, I started 38 matches in a Premier League season. I don't see it happening. I wouldn't do it. I think it's Virgil and Mo are guarantees. I think they start each match the rest of the way. Mo's going for records. Virgil's the captain, and I think he prides himself on starting every match he's fit in the Premier League. I don't think another player, including Allison for that matter, starts all 4 of the rest of the matches. I think Kelleher gets Brighton away, maybe as his goodbye swan song. Wish you well, young man. Because not getting Arsenal at home, because I think that is a marker for next season. And I don't think he's getting the last match of the year against Palace either.
I'm not at home, not that game where it's like the trophy lift and stuff. I mean, I guess, you know, this is going to be like watching everything Trent does. Did he smile? Did he look? Did he raise his arm? Is the shirt on? But like when a player is playing, we're going to have to like read even more into it now, Kazi. But when you see Chiesa, for example, I'm kind of like torn in between what Galley's saying. And at the same time, it's like, or is it because a guy like Chiesa, I don't think can lose value by playing, right? Nobody's going to look at Chiesa and be like, oh, no, he's not worth 20 anymore. Looks like I'll only give him 15. But he can really gain value. But at the same time, it could be what Kazi is saying, where he throws him out there because he is meant to be part of the squad moving on next year. I mean, we don't know. I don't know. Maybe like 3-4 months ago, we were talking about like 7-8 changes because we felt like, you know, 3 could be leaving and all that kind of stuff. We were throwing numbers. But at the end of the day, maybe Slot is looking at the squad and saying, hey, the key was to keep it intact and only wants to make, I don't know, like 3 or 4 changes or whatever. I know there'll be some people who want to leave, like Kelleher and stuff like that, but maybe he doesn't want a huge overhaul, and that's when people like Chiesa, maybe like Jota and stuff would benefit from that.
I think there's a part of this with the Chiesa one, especially because I think it's super interesting if he does start them in games, because he can play his way into the manager's plans a little bit. And for next season, and people might be surprised by that, because let's be frank here, he hasn't been an option this year. We might have counted him, but he hasn't been an option to the manager this year. So if he goes out and plays well in these 4 games, let's just say, gets a couple of goals, looks lively, looks the part, and then Liverpool get a £50 million bidding for Jota in the summer, they just go, fuck it, we'll just go and do a boss number 9, Chiesa's the backup, because he wasn't an option last year, so technically it's like a new signing in that weird aspect. And then you just bring Ben Dope back off loan to cover Salah, and then have Gakpo and Diaz, and we just roll with those punches. And have you there your 6 up front, including the Jadon Dans, let's say. And you'd have him bopping around the squad and see what he can do. Because I think there's a part that if you're Liverpool, you couldn't go far wrong if you go and get the real deal at number 9. That's what I'm saying. Though, by the way, I'm not saying you can't go and get a project at 9, then have Chiesa as your backup. You've got to go and get the Isaac as your 9, and then Chiesa as the backup. You can't go and, like, I'm a big Sesko fan at 21, 6'5", runs quick, loads of goals. I'm banging to him, but he feels like too much of a project right now to do Chiesa as your backup, where you feel like you need the one now. The question is Alvarez the one now? If that's the other part of this question, is Alvarez the one? You go, okay, you can get me 25 and Chiesa can do the other minutes, and then you just keep Diaz, whatever I think about Diaz doesn't really matter, and Gakpo, and then do Doak and Salah. That is a part of this. There's also a part of this as well. There's players who probably are playing for the position a little bit in the squad, in the whole team going forward. I look at Kwanzaa, for example. I'm a big fan of his. I do like him a lot. But is it now or never? Do I want it? But again, I think he's played well this year when he's played alongside Virgil. I think he's played well. I think he's looked out of sorts when he's played alongside Konate and Gomez, especially Brighton away in the League Cup. He looked really out of sorts when we were playing well, but that was alongside Gomez, I believe. So there's a few still question marks over the team, mate. Harvey Elliott's another one. I know we mentioned earlier in the press conference and stuff, but he's still playing for his future. Like, you know what I mean? He's still like...
Yeah, I want to get to Harvey because the fact that he addressed that separately tells me he's being looked at differently than the other ones. And almost like he made it sound like, I think we'll get to Elliott because I know we had written him off and said, oh, he does not fit kind of a deal. So he says Salah goes to AFCON in December. Chiesa maybe.
That's the part.
Gali and I actually signed Frimpong the other week. So we're using him as the replacements. As a winger while he's gone, as a right back when he's back. I
don't want Frimpong, you know.
You don't want Frimpong?
I'm not into him at all.
What don't you like about Frimpong?
He plays in 3 at the back. I don't know if he can play in a 4 at the back. That's my biggest issue with him, to be honest. All his good goals is attacking when he's playing in a 3 at the back. I just feel
I would agree with that. I had said when I was talking about signing him, we still hadn't signed Mo yet. And it was more like he offers you some cover at right.
Well, I thought he said he will give you, like, when Mo is gone,
you may push him forward. He might be a right winger.
When Mo Salah says, hey, I'm not defending anymore because the manager doesn't want me to defend anymore, I need a defensive right back to play defending, please. Do you know what I mean? By the way, I signed Livramento last night from Newcastle, so don't worry about me. You know what I mean?
Actually, that would be a great signing. I don't know if it happens because
I tried signing him when he was at Southampton. Then someone was like, he plays for Chelsea. I'm like, well, he ain't coming to us then.
So we're for 50 million now. He plays left back and right back as well. He does both for you.
Yeah,
so he's really handy. He's like that Joe Gomez thing, where he could be really handy and play 2-3 different positions for you. Do you know what I mean? And that's another question, by the way, a centre half talking about Kwanzaa and Gomez.
I think that's where your point about Kwanzaa, I was thinking the same thing. It'll be interesting to see if Kwanzaa gets any of those minutes the rest of the way. Because if Kwanzaa doesn't get a couple starts in these last 4, then you really start to lay into the question of what can the guy do to play in this setup, and should he be thinking about his future? And to me, it does feel like one of those 2 center backs leaves this summer, either Gomez or Kwanzaa. And it might be which one gets the better deal coming in for him. Gomez... We've been saying for 3 years the guy would be angling for a move. Villa wanted him, West Ham wanted him, reinvigorate his English career. But then he either gets hurt or he signs a new extension. So maybe he just is happy being here.
He was literally doing a medical at Newcastle in the summer. He was literally having a medical with Anthony Gordon in the England camp to go the other way until Newcastle sorted out the FFP. Because how good would he? By the way, he would have been unbelievable for Newcastle. Oh my God, he would have been tremendous. He would have looked like a Rolls Royce there. Liverpool have massive issues at centre half. Because the Gomez question marks out because you can't rely on him. Kwanzaa's a young boy, and then Konate's got a year left. So what's the conversation on Konate? I keep saying this: if you don't sign in the summer, leave. I'm not having this thing again, hanging over. Like, sign in the summer or go.
Yeah, you would think it would be sign or we move kind of a thing, especially in his age and the value that you would get for him. It's kind of like a total different scenario than the other ones. And now, it's different. This summer is different than last summer in terms of what they have to deal with. It's almost like those guys play their cards right and said, well, we want to see what the hell is going to happen first before we sign. And I don't blame them for that, to see what's going on before you commit to a long term, especially when you are Mo and Van Dijk and stuff like that, and you only have a certain number of years left in your career. You don't want to be wasting it on a rebuild or like a recovery and stuff like that. So I thought that was totally fair play for them to say, well, let's see how things are going over here. I think this summer will be different because how things are going. So you're either in the project and staying and signing an extension, or, well, let's find a good destination for you kind of a deal is what I would think would happen with Konate, either in the summer or latest would be.
Well, I'm asking you though, Tim, do you want this to be dragged on after Christmas again with Konate? Do you actually want this to carry on? Like, I think Salah and Van Dijk were at an age where you could let it drag on and see what it's about, and there's a respect element there because they've been here for 10 years or whatever it is and dedicated their lives to the club, whatever it is. I just don't want this to drag on for the 20.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but I think totally different scenarios. That's why I feel like this will be handled in the summer. I still say there was no way for the other one to be handled last summer because I don't know if those guys wanted to commit last summer.
Yeah. They want to travel.
They can't be like, well, I want to see how things are going. Well, you see how things are going.
No, yeah. You're
wearing a medal. This is how things are going right now, kind of a deal.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I hope it gets sorted soon.
But when we go back to Gomez, right? Because I mean, I love Gomez, man. I feel so bad for this kid. I mean, Gally, you would think, you were mentioning like which one will bring more kind of a thing. I would think Gomez would be, I don't want to say at an all-time low because he was injured one off season, but you're not going to get the value that he probably brings in terms of money right now, because he is a risk. Like if we sign Gomez, we'll be like, why do we sign this guy? He's going to get injured in a week. It's like what we did with Thiago, for example.
There's way more value in selling Kwanzaa from his age, health, and upside. I mean, this is a guy who was getting called into the English setup even when he was getting fringe minutes at Liverpool. So it's not, Thomas Tuchel obviously sees something in his skill sets as well as a player and likes what he sees from a profile. I think the English tax doesn't hurt either. The fact that he's considered homegrown would help in selling him to an English club. If you're one of the promoted sides, could you honestly do worse than bringing in, like, if you're Leeds, you do pretty well. You bring a kid like Kwanzaa in for 25, 30 million with that money. I think you reinvest that. I think Gomez also offers more value to this Liverpool side because we've seen in an emergency what he looks like at right back or left back, and he can do a serviceable job. I don't think anybody here was, though I think we need to give him credit for the effort he put in. Nobody was like raving about Kwanzaa pulling up trees when he was forced to go out wide and play right back. But then again, it's kind of unfair when you try to play right back the way Trent plays right back and you're a right center back. Like, I never thought it was fair when Kwanzaa was put into that right back position. I think there's a really good player there. I don't know that he's going to get the amount of minutes with the top level starting center backs, because I do think we have to buy one this summer, and we might have to buy two if we are to lose Konate. And I don't think Konate's signing that deal this summer, because I think he just saw the bumpers that Mo and them got. I think he thinks he should be higher paid. He's still an injury risk and puts in a mediocre performance too often for me, playing next to the best center back in the entire world. And sometimes he looks human. And honestly, if PSG offered us 50 million and you make a profit on Konate after 5 years, wouldn't you take it?
I would take more than 50, I think, for me. For
you think it takes more than 50?
I think so.
With 1 year left?
It becomes 50 or 0, I think.
If he wasn't going to sign, then probably, I'd take that. If he's definitely not going to sign, I'm not a Konate fan. I think he's a bridesmaid. I've said this from the start. I think he's a very very good centre half, but I don't think he's the one who's going to lead your line at centre half. That's all. And by the way, that's completely fine. Rafa Varane made a career out of it next to Sergio Ramos. He made a career out of it, and he was, by the way, Joe Matip made a career out of it. So that's, you know what I mean. Joe Gomez has made a career out of it. So that's not a bad thing. I think he's a really good player. But if it's not done this summer, gents, and again, I agree with Gal, the Gomez thing's interesting because I actually look around the teams in the Premier League, Newcastle being a really good one. If Newcastle want to go to that next level, you want to try and get a Premier League winner in, like someone who's played in top level games of footy, hard games of football. Do you know what I mean? Like when the pressure's really on, and Joe Gomez has done that and done that admirably. When Liverpool won the league, I always felt like you needed those leaders, and we had like a James Milner in the squad who'd been there and done it and going like, those type. And Joe Gomez feels like that to me for Newcastle.
How much would Newcastle give for Joe Gomez?
Well, the rumor was last year it was 40 million. Then Liverpool accepted it was 40 mil.
But do you think the value is still there after this season? That's my point. I think the value is probably even lower now because it is it's a big risk. I mean, it was a big risk then, I guess, but it's an even bigger risk now.
I agree. I don't know. I don't know how much I think. Here's the other part of this conversation, gents. What's 30 million this day and age, honestly? Genuinely, what's 30 million? You're getting Birmingham City in League One and signing strikers for 20 million quid. Yeah. Like, what's 30 million? You know what I mean? It's not like the end of the world if you're, a club spending 30 million on Joe Gomez, you're going, 30 million, take a chance. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll have a look at him. Like, we can see what we can do with him. So, and then going back to the Kwanzaa conversation, Kwanzaa has to start 15 games next year, all comps. Just has to. Because we need to see what he's about. League Cup, FA Cup, and there's definitely 2 or 3 Champions League games he might be able to get, and there's definitely playing fucking, let's just say, Burnley at home. You can't start Burnley at home. Really? If you can't start Burnley at home, you might as well be it. If you can't, you know what I mean? Like, that's that, I felt like that with look at the bottom 3 that have come up this year. Like, genuinely at home, we should be fucking starting fucking 8 changes and fucking rolling out and beating them. He did that against Southampton. We got a scare. They went 1-0 up. And then he's had to bring all the lads off the bench. But going back to the bigger point, that's why he doesn't trust the squad. because he's looked at them and said, fuck, made changes and you haven't fucking done the job. Now I've got to bring 4 lads off the bench to come out and win the game for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tough one roundabout, but we've been saying it for a while, gents. Liverpool have a big bill coming on the sly, and I don't think people realise how big the bill's going to be.
I don't know if because I mean, we are kind of creating more holes to fill by saying I don't think we need to raise funds necessarily by selling players. You're basically trying to like now bring more people in. If you were originally going to bring in 3-4, that's why I don't know if there is enough value in selling Kwanzaa unless you're getting a ridiculous deal, Gally, because or you're probably selling with a buyback or sell on and all that kind of stuff. But this is a young, promising center back that he clearly still trusts. Like, you know what I mean? There are guys that, we rarely, look at Chiesa, for example. Like, you rarely ever see him. I still feel like he sees something in Kwanzaa he likes and he trusts, but perhaps how he is on the ball and how comfortable he is on the ball, the confidence the kid has in himself and stuff. So I personally don't see a huge upside in selling him unless the offer is ridiculous, because I don't think it's a summer where we need to raise funds, having not spent anything last summer either.
I don't disagree with that. I guess my thing is for each year for every year that he goes further from his first full year with Jurgen, more and more people will forget the big performances of the fact that he unseated Konate by the end of the reign with Jurgen and the beginning of the slot reign. Yeah. And granted, it lasted a half and a summer, but I do think the manager trusts him to an extent. I think if he truly trusted him and his movement, his defensive abilities, we wouldn't have seen Curtis Jones and Endo at times playing at right back when we needed a right back, because he clearly would throw Gomez out anywhere. He put Tsimikas at one point on the right this year in a match because we were down a live body. He had him and Robertson on the pitch. It was random, and it was awful, as you can imagine, because he doesn't have a right foot. And he's even worse of a defender on the right-hand side, if you can believe it, Tim. I think he believes in him. I think he believes in him as like a fringe player to his squad, and we saw that even rushing Konate back from the injury at one point and starting him when we all thought Kwanzaa would get the match. I just question whether or not his value ever gets back to where it was last season or the year before if you continue to keep him as a bit part player, as your fourth center back. Because I believe they're buying a center back this year to compete, at least one, to compete with Konate for the number one job next to Virgil, and hopefully, in the manager's mind, win the job from Konate and be the long-term replacement as the leader, to Kazi's point. And whether that's the Houston kid, whether that's another kid, I'm not even putting a name on it. I think that's the profile of player. And I think if they believe that was Kwanzaa, he wouldn't still be firmly fourth choice at this point here. And I could be totally wrong here. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong in the future. I don't know. There's something about the way the manager responds to him specifically, his mistakes specifically. Doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of hugging him and putting his arm around him, the way it feels sometimes with Harvey Elliott as an example. He went out of his way to build up Elliott today. And I know you want to get to it. I think that's because of the quotes Elliott made 48 hours ago about, I hope to be here, but at the end of the year, I have to think about my future. He actually said what we've all been saying for months. It may be Harvey that wants out more than Liverpool wants Harvey out, because he doesn't think there's a way in with the manager. And if that's what Kwanzaa feels at his age, I'd be thinking the same way if I was Kwanzaa.
But isn't it slightly different for Kwanzaa, who can look over there and say, Van Dijk is going to be gone in 2 years? So there's a big slot opening. Whereas you look at this midfield, it's a young midfield, man. There is no spots opening anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like, whereas Kwanzaa can say, hey, I get my 15 games that Kazi is talking about. And if I prove myself in a couple of seasons, Van Dijk is going to be gone. There's a huge hole to fill. You know what I mean? Like, there's at least light at the end of the tunnel for Kwanzaa, whereas Elliott can be like, shit, that guy is 22, this guy is 25. There's no way I'm going to play over here. I'm like, these guys are as young as I am.
I think the manager's learned a few things this season, a lot. I think he's learned a lot. I'd love him to sit down and go, what have you learned? I think he's realised in February how hard this league can be if you go deep in competitions. And I think he's probably realised that he could have done more rotation. The Kwanzaa issue is centre half mature at 25. He's very young, Kwanzaa, very young. I think he's like 21. I think still that's still so young for the centre half. So I think Kwanzaa definitely sticks around. I think the manager will want a slightly deeper squad or a squad he can trust next year, because I think he'll probably think to himself, I could have done a little bit more i.e. Southampton at home before PSG, for example. And I know he did the rotation and all that, but he's had to throw them after 45 minutes because he hasn't trusted the squad. He needs lads he can trust in the squad. And I get that. I've said this all season. The manager's entitled to make all the mistakes he's allowed to, because it's his first season. It's not his squad of players, let's be frank here. He hasn't signed a player, in effect. And he's entitled to make all the mistakes. It's his first time in the league. By the way, Jurgen Klopp made loads of mistakes. Loads in his first season.
Yeah.
And he learned pretty darn quickly that you need a deeper squad and you need to get these players on, blah, blah, blah. The manager will. But also, he needs the players that he can trust. He needs his own signings that he can put his faith in. And like, again, the defence again. I just look around the squad, gents, and I think it's a bigger rebuild than you think. We have a big decision on Conor Bradley. Can't get fit. If Trent is out the door, he can't get fit. I like the kid. I think he has a high ceiling. But if he can't get fit, he's not good to me. You know what I mean? And then, so do you want to sign two right backs in one summer? Do you want to do Costas now for 10 million? I'd take Tyreek and Mitchell on a free, by the way, and just do that, and just do Robertson and Mitchell for a couple of years and then go and find the proper one. We're talking about doing a big centre half. Well, there's 3 or 4 signings in the defence before we even move to the other part of the field. Do you know what I mean? So I just think there's more questions to do in the summer than we actually would want to think. I think it's
here's the thing, Kazi, because we talked about this before, that we said, with the 3 possible leaving and stuff like that. And one of the things we talked about is it buys time. Yes. Right. So doesn't Virgil staying in some ways, unless you can go and rob Bournemouth of 3-4 players and come back like you're dreaming, like if you can bring like a Huijsen or somebody like that, and doesn't that almost buy them this off season to hold off on the center back, hang on to maybe what we have, or maybe not get one as high profile as like Yali was saying earlier, who's gonna right off the bat compete, but more gonna be a Kwanzaa like guy that's gonna need time and get opportunities and stuff like that. So you can focus on your right back and left back or whatever you gotta do, because that's perhaps was the biggest advantage of keeping those guys, buying yourself more time.
Virgil buys time if Canate signs a deal.
Yeah.
If
I guess,
But if he doesn't sign a deal, then there's no time. But in the same shit again, we are, because again, we don't know what we're getting out of Gomez and Kwanzaa. We just spoke about the doubts that we have. So then you're down to 2. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if Nat Phillips is still knocking about, but I'm sure he'll probably leave this summer. So we have 2, and that's that. So that's the bigger part of the conversation, mate. I think it buys the time. Salah especially buys them time up front, because he'll get your goals anyway. So we can at least make you compete while you're looking for the striker for 2 years. And I say this all the time with Trent leaving. You need to find someone who can pass the fucking ball in midfield, because we haven't got one. McAllister can pass the ball, but he plays too deep to pass it. I'd love to see McAllister in the 8. That's my dream. I'd love to see
move McAllister forward. Buy the big, get your Zubamendi guy to sit next to Gravenberch and move McAllister forward, in my opinion.
I think that's the way Liverpool gets home, no? I think that's how Liverpool get this home, because McAllister looks at the only one to me who's got that little 5-10 yard pass in between a line. I don't think Szoboszlai does it enough, and I'm not being harsh on Szoboszlai. I just don't think he does. I think he's more of a powerful runner beyond the defence.
I mean,
when you're trying to break down a low block,
he's defending for Mo. So in that interview,
yeah, of course,
like I'm running over here. I can't be passing too.
I just think this you've got to replace Trent's creativity somewhere, and it isn't from fucking right back. So you may as well just go and sign a right back and go and sign a proper midfielder who does the Trent job. And that's why there's an argument over, like, say, like doing a conversation about De Bruyne or something for 2 years. And you can laugh all you like, but he's 32 years of age. You can play him in a deeper role and just go, you just stand in and just spray your passes. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to do much running in our team anyway, because we're a lot more shape-based. It's not like you're doing like this big high pressing it's a lot more shape-based and you're picking time and running. I'm just saying, a type of player like that, who can just get out of jail for 2 years.
He's going to go live with Timuchin, actually, from what I read.
Yeah.
Really?
No, he's in negotiations with MLS over a move to Chicago. They own his rights.
Oh, wow.
Come on over, man.
Well, supposedly he's saying he can still play at the top level and stuff. He says, I want to prove himself in the Prem stuff.
They claim Villa's ready to offer him a contract as soon as his deal's up. But Villa will sign everybody, right? Villa's just like,
Villa's my favorite football club,
That's the low bar. This is a good point, though. Like, but still, as good as he is, I don't know when that would be. But it does feel like a future, like a Trent loading kind of a situation, Gally. knowing how Real does business as well. Like, you're going to bring him basically you would bring him for 3-4 years, and after 3-4 years, he would probably do the Real thing himself.
Look, I'm not going to get in a world where if I think a player is good and I think he's a sellable asset, and I understand that Madrid at times, but the whole purpose of why he has the $50 million out in his clause, in the out clause, his escape clause at Bournemouth, was because he bet on himself when he took the move to Bournemouth, and he wanted to make sure that he could get out if a bigger club came in and he wasn't kind of stuck to Bournemouth size level. I think if you get him signed, he wouldn't sign less than a 4 or 5 year contract. If you get 3 really good years out of him, 4 even, I think you could probably get him on a bumper deal, insert some type of out. You probably are getting 70, 80 million for him if he comes good. Now, if he's a bust, right? But that's any player you buy. Yeah. So, and it's not like there is a dearth of high quality center backs with a young age that have the profile he does, regardless of opinion. I know Kazi says he wants to see more from him, wants to see what it's like in a duel. You know, he's 19. He is Bournemouth's leader of their defense at that age. He's completely 2-footed. He passes equally well from the right or the left. And from everyone that talks about him, his makeup's unbelievable, and he is destined for top level. If you're afraid of signing players like that because they may want to go to Madrid or Barcelona someday, then I guess we're just going to keep signing little gems from England and hope they stay.
Players, yeah.
Like, when Bellingham left Birmingham, right? If anyone said, you can have this young Bellingham kid, but there's a chance he might go and leave you after his 3 years and go to Real Madrid, we wouldn't turn it down. Dortmund wouldn't turn it down. At the end of the day, I think it's your job when you get a player into your club to make them feel like McAllister does right now and want to stay. But let's be real. I hope it doesn't happen. If Real Madrid comes in with an offer for McAllister in 4 years, the young Argentinian might say, I've won everything here. I want to go. He's a kid from Spain. Are we never going to sign another Spanish player? I don't know. Yeah. I would have taken Zubamendi last summer, and I wouldn't have been shocked in 3 years if he wanted to go to Real Madrid. He's from Spain.
Yeah, then you wouldn't sign any South American. If we went by that, you wouldn't sign anybody South American.
Suarez.
They always want to go to Real and stuff. That's, I think, almost like part of business. I think the key over there is to be able to line up the timing and put yourself in a situation where they go on a free, ideally. But we know, how they play the contract and stuff. I would be extremely helpful with them. And I know what, Kazi's concern is, because I think we had this discussion on Discord. My thing is, I do worry about that in terms of, like you said, Gally, now he's kind of like the leader of that Bournemouth backline, even despite his age. What happens when you come to Liverpool is you are the target, because nobody is going to go at Van Dijk unless he drops off, as he ages and stuff. But having said that, I think, a guy like Konate, a guy like Kwanzaa could be very relieved if Trent is going to Madrid and you get an actual defensive right back, because now that's not a default go-to destination for, opposing offenses, Kazi, because they're not going to always come to left. And, Kwanzaa and Konate is like, I'm putting in a full shift over here, and Van Dijk is just directing traffic on the other side, kind of a thing. So I feel like we're going to see a lot of changes on how teams attack this defense moving forward, which would change the role of the right center back as well as your left back, because now he's probably going to get more attacks. Before, like I say, everybody did that diagonal towards wherever Trent is and tried to get him isolated there.
You need to be a really good defender one-on-one to play for Liverpool, because you do get isolated a lot, because the way Liverpool attack, and you can get countered and be isolated. My doubt with this kid is he's 20 years of age. It's been one good season. I don't know if his level, and this might come back to bite me on the arse, but is he massively better than Kwanzaa? Massively. Does Kwanzaa look that good at Bournemouth? That's all I'm saying. I don't know. We don't know. But he's a kid. I just feel like I want a 24, 25-year-old. You know what I mean? Where I go, oh, fucking hell, he's like a monster. Do you know what I mean? I want that. I get the argument. I get the argument that says he's having of like, you know, he might get off to Real Madrid, and of course that's footy, innit? And that happens. But if Liverpool are going to throw 60 million quid at a centre half, or throw a centre half, or somebody's like 24, 25, ready to rock right now, kind of thing. I had a little look at this heist, and I'm not really big into stats either, like especially XG. That's the worst stat I've ever made in the history of human mankind. But he has a 53% aerial duel rate as a centre half. That doesn't feel like a lot to me. And when you're playing at Liverpool, when teams will go long at you because you're trying to beat the press, they go long. That's whistle for headers, you know. And the one thing that Canati and Van Dijk do is win headers. Like, do you know what I mean? So you're going to have that. I don't think he's got the big physical structure that I want to see out my centre half. He might grow into that because he's 20, he's a kid. He might get wide, and that's, you know what I mean? I just feel like, if I offered you right now, gents, and I just checked his age because I forgot, he's 24. If I offered you right now, this Dean Huijsen or Mickey van der Ven, who would you take? Genuinely.
Damn, that's a good one.
It's a good question. I'll say this: if you have all of the issues we were questioning about Bradley, Mickey van der Ven offers you more injury issues. So he's actually missed more games than any center back in the Premier League since he showed up.
He's had a bad year this year. I agree with that. I think he's played like 15 games or something this year. But last year, I think he played like 30 or 35 games.
He's an exceptional talent, and we should have went for him. I mean, we had Schmacke. We had Schmacke, his buddy, you know, the fire down cigarettes on the pitch. That guy was the one who signed him at Wolfsburg, I believe. So I think Van der Ven's up there, but
no. I just don't think he can be asked doing it because of Spurs, because Daniel Levy. I don't think he can be asked dealing with Daniel Levy because he's a fucking pain in the ass. So I get that part. I'm just saying, I just think there's other centre halves out there, lads, who are ready to go, who would have a lot more faith in Liverpool throwing Doha. That's all.
I don't know, like the injury thing scares me. I mean, the
moment half in the world, you might all start laughing at me and go, "Fucking, you should have signed Dean Huijsen when he's the best centre half in the world in 5 years." But who knows?
But I mean, here's the thing: he is gonna be like, how good? Like, we see how good he is right now, and I know it's one season, small sample size. But then at the same time, couldn't you say how much better would he be if he played next to Van Dijk at the same time? If we say, you know, Konate looks as good as he is because he is next to, you know, like Van Dijk. I mean, you got to look at Huijsen and be like, man, how much better would he be if he was playing next to Van Dijk? I do love Van der Ven. Jonathan Tah on a free.
No.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, if you are just doing something to have depth, I can see something like that, but I don't see otherwise Liverpool buying somebody that age.
If a player
thing is short term.
If a player's been at a German club for 10 years, and he's great, why isn't Bayern Munich signed him? Because Bayern Munich signed all the boss ones. And Bayern Munich have needed centre halves for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, Bayern Munich came to Turkey to buy Kim before they went after Tah, for God's sake. So there's that.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's all I mean. And by the way, Tah, I think he's like 30 now, so he brings in that experience. I get that argument. Plays in the 3 at the back. That's another thing. Plays in the 3 at the back. I keep thinking about this when people are linking us with these players who they just see on FIFA or whatever it is, and just think, does it actually fit? I don't think a 3 at the back player can play in our centre and the way we play defending. So.
Sir Z says, if we're getting Kirkes, do you really think Bournemouth? I mean, here's another thing that I'm saying is maybe
they don't have a choice. Both players have automatic release clauses, and neither release clause requires you to pay it all up front. Almost like Richard Hughes instituted some release clauses that would work for the job he was on his way to. It'd be like me selling my house and then putting a clause in that says I can buy the shit back at 15% off and I get to do it over 30 years. But no, I know what Serzi's saying, but this is who Bournemouth is. They're going to lose their manager. They're going to lose their left back. They're going to lose their right back. They've already bought the replacement from South America in the summer or in the January window for the left back, and they have another young center back. Bournemouth's going to sell Semenyo and replace him with another up-and-coming winger in a few years that they're going to sell for a profit. That's what that club does, and they've made a very good footing of it right now. They're in a good place. I mean, I think they're excited to sell it.
I don't think we're getting Kirkes. I think he stinks of the match. Do you remember that summer when we were living with like Marcus Thuram and players like that for like 6 months, and then we just didn't sign any of them? Remember, I can't remember the other centre midfielder that we were linked with. It was Marcus Thuram and someone else. It was
Kone.
Oh,
Kone.
Kone, yes,
Kone,
that too.
Marwan Kone, remember? Everyone was like, we're definitely, and then it just wasn't them.
I know. Yeah, that's the only thing I get with Kirkes. There's so much definite.
This is what I'm saying. And I just feel like
there's way too much talk.
Liverpool might just go and give Robertson a 2-year deal and sign Tyreek Mitchell on a free and go, we've got too much to do here. You know what I mean?
Let's not forget that Hughes signed these guys. Maybe
Yeah,
Hughes is saying, and we talked about this before, like, I would not be surprised where we don't get this guy and we get somebody else that we have not heard of. And Hughes is like, you guys thought that guy was good? I actually was looking at this guy as well, kind of a deal, and bring players. And I would love him to do that. We talked about this before, like a low-risk buys for like 8 million, 12 million or something like that. That won't make fans happy, but it will be like a good business decision. But I do... Yeah, I mean, since they do have the clause, Bournemouth does not have a say. And like Gally is saying, that's what clubs like Bournemouth, Brighton, the smart ones do. They just keep rotating and bringing the money by selling them because that's kind of like key to their survival. I mean, you know, that's what Porto does. That's what Ajax does. I mean, they're starting. That's how those clubs kind of support themselves. Bring the young guy, roll the dice more on young players, sell them, make the money. Speaking of young guys, let's talk about
I think that's Brighton's big one in the summer's Believer. That feels like the big one that they might do in the summer. The big sell is Believer or João Pedro.
I'm not convinced on him. I know what you guys think, but every time I watch him, like, he's so inconsistent as you watch him throughout the game. Like, if you watch him as a scout, he looks great and a world beater for 5 minutes. You're like, it's Pogba all over again. And then you're like, what is this guy doing?
I believe you know.
Something more of an Onana.
I like him.
Another one that I know Harvey loves, or before we get to Harvey, another one I know Kazi's mentioned in the past that he loves. There's rumors out there today that Palace has basically got Wharton up for bid and they want to move him this summer and reinvest in their squad.
Please.
I do Wharton love that Kazi has. I don't get that one either, to be honest with you.
I think he's the best midfielder in England outside of the top 6.
Oh, my golly. My golly's been hard for me.
Yeah, this is reckless. Okay, I've been honest with him before his injury. He wasn't the same when he came back, but last few months he has back to that level before it. Last few months, his time has gone up more, so I liked him more now than when he first came back. Wild. I like him more than I
like, you know,
hating on him.
Fucking Dutch, man. The fucking Dutch.
You've come back from injury, so Boslai's done me head in for 6 weeks, and now you're boss, which I'm banging into. You know what I mean? But listen,
I like how he says, I like him more now than when he was injured.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what he's saying in there. It's like, I mean, he's a lot better when he's not injured. I'll give you guys that.
Yeah, so, he's great. Yeah, he's fantastic. You should see him run. Yeah. Wild. But listen, in a positive
sense, or not, Harvey still can't run.
It's positive though, Tim, isn't it? For Harvey. It's positive for Liverpool. I think we all rate Harvey Elliott. I think we all think he could be a valuable piece of this team going forward. And I'm really positive. I'm really happy the manager said that, really. That I think the manager's learned lessons this season and he needs a bigger squad. I think I read somewhere, I need to look into this, that he won the Dutch league with the lowest used players in their history. I think he won the Dutch league with like 14 players, 15 players used.
Are you serious?
So, yeah, I'm sure that's a fact, but I need to kind of look into it. I'll find out for you next week. But so I think he realises how much of a key player Harvey Elliott could be. Let's get it right, mate. Every time he's come on, he's been brilliant for Liverpool. Still, this summer, he's been really good. Like this season, he's been really good when he's come off the pitch. He's really creative. His pass in the League Cup final's a joke. He's the only one on the pitch who can make that pass for Chiesa to score. By the way, Elliott to Chiesa scoring a goal for Liverpool in the cup final seems like a fucking fever dream. But that happened this season. That happened like literally 3 months ago. I can't believe it. But so listen, proud that the manager's come out and said that. And hopefully Harvey gets a few starts in the next 4 games.
I mean, it all goes back to, man, when we were talking about depth and the guys he trusts. I mean, we had that conversation quite a few times on Monday nights, Gally, that, like, does he want, for him to trust, like, do you want guys on the bench who can come in and give you something different, like Harvey does? Right? Like when you can't unlock a defense, does he want to keep a guy like that, or does he want more of what he has so he can just bring the same thing, stay with plan A of what we're trying to do, but bring fresher legs or somebody who's maybe in better form and stuff? So when he takes Szoboszlai out, instead of bringing, like, does he want to bring another Szoboszlai in? Or like when he takes Gravenberch out, does he want to bring another Gravenberch in, or does he want to bring Endo in? I mean, that's, I guess, the biggest decision, and we really don't know what this manager wants. I mean, I think the Endo with the the tour and everything like that, sounds like it will be the way to, like, he will be sticking around. And I think he has learned how to use Endo when needed. And is a player who's a great leader and has accepted that role, it feels like. So which direction do you think he goes? He keeps guys on the bench who give you something different? Or he says, Harvey, this is great, man, but this is not exact. You're better than when you were injured, but we're going to go get somebody who's more like suitable and fits what I want to do regularly.
I honestly kind of feel like this is Harvey's decision. I think the manager is making it very clear that there's a role for him and something he can fight towards. And, to steal his own line, when fit, I like you better. And you've been fit for a bit. So he like passed him the note in class. It was like, do you like me? And slot circled yes. And then put a little disclaimer on the bottom, when fit. But I come back to, is that enough for Harvey Elliott and for his career and for his aspirations? Like, if this is a kid who sees himself as someone who should be on the plane to the United States next summer at the World Cup, he has to play a hell of a lot more next season and play a bigger part at Liverpool than he did this year. And that, don't get that twisted, man. This is a World Cup year. It's going to be a weird one. This is that thing that guys will question that are on the fringes of international teams. Do I stay another year? Do I look to angle a move? Like, I'll give you an example. If you're Jota and you think you're going to be more of a bit part player next year, the 4th, 5th, 6th attacker, do you get into that Portugal loaded side to come to the United States? Or if you score 30 goals at Porto playing in the Portuguese league, that's 2 steps slower, are you more viable of an option? Because God knows they're going to bring the corpse that is Cristiano Ronaldo, as long as he can get a promise that they're not going to extradite him as soon as he sets foot in the United States. But I do think, I genuinely think that the World Cup decisions will play into players' mindsets of ones that leave clubs, go to new clubs, especially ones who aren't guaranteed minutes, which is why I think it's really important that you get your business done early. The window opens early this summer because of the stupid Club World Cup tournament, and I think you get right at it.
Sarzi is selling Jones. I can tell you that is not happening at all. I mean, just based on what Jones says,
the manager likes Jones more than Kazi, and Kazi likes him more than his mom.
Yeah, that's not happening. Okay, let's look at the weekend real quick. Starting 11 prediction. Go for it, Kazi. Start with the back line. We still see Ali, but start with the back line.
Well, I think the manager will do what I want to do.
No one cares what you want to do. No. What do you think the manager will do?
Ali, Trent. Because I don't think why play Bradley if he's injured again. I have fucking no idea. Kwanzaa, Van Dijk. Costas, because I think he'll do Robertson at Arsenal. I think he wants his best team at Arsenal. I think that's the only one he'll want to start in 11 at.
Mm-hmm.
Jones, McAllister. I think Gravenberch gets his rest now for Arsenal. Again, Szoboszlai probably. I would do Elliott, but Szoboszlai. And then Salah, Jota, Diaz. I think he has a sub then of Diaz down the middle on Nunes and things like that. I think he has a sub, but no matter what, Salah's starting every single football match, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So and honestly, that's all I'm watching for the rest of the season. Pretty much is more getting his numbers. Gally, what do you have?
Similar lineup, honestly. I think he should start Kwanzaa. I don't know why. I feel like he'll start Konate at Chelsea. I think he probably goes a little stronger in this one too. Chelsea's still playing in that 3 from 5 kind of respect the project type thing. I also don't think that I do think it helps clubs like Liverpool if you can keep a club like Chelsea out of the Champions League if possible. So taking 3 points at Stamford Bridge would put a really big dent in their chance of getting into Champions League. And I think a club that probably has to sell assets if they're not making money and has some good assets to sell too, and are also trying to buy in the same market you're trying to buy in with certain players. I don't think it hurts that. I don't think we go all out for it, so I'll go backline, Trent, Konate, Virgil, Tsimikas, with Ali in goal. Midfield, I'm going to go with Sarzi a little bit. I'm going to say it's Jones, Elliott, and McAllister, though I'm not sure that's a very good balanced midfield, but I think Jones gets the start. And I think he talked up Elliott for a reason. It felt like in that presser, I could see him start. The only thing that's guaranteed is Mo. And it should be Diaz from the left, especially attacking that porous defense that Chelsea has on the right-hand side. So I'd go Diaz from the left, and by default, it's Jota because, well, we all know Chiesa has no chance.
And we're not spending any more. We're not wasting any more money on Nunez.
I wouldn't let him play again. I wouldn't let him play again, but I bet the manager does because he doesn't want to deal with 3 weeks worth of questions about it. Plus, I guess that's probably how you try to maximize the money. I know there are reports that there are clubs in England that are interested in him. I just can't see anyone offering anywhere close to what Saudi will offer. Because I think the English teams that are coming in, let's talk of like, it's the West Hams and those types of clubs. And I could see them trying to get a cut rate price. And I don't think we're doing a cut rate price. I think we're going to lose money on the deal, but I think we're going to maximize every dollar. And hopefully that means Saudi, because it also means I don't have to watch him ever again.
Yeah, that's true. I think so too. I think nobody else is going to give the money. And he does fit, he'll bring the excitement factor and stuff like that. And then he will probably bang in goals if he goes to Saudi League because it's not the Premier League. So, I mean, and if you get regular time and he'll do his thing and his misses won't be as overblown because he's banging some goals and he'll run fast and all that kind of stuff. And, I think Saudis will be happy with him.
I think we all have an opinion on Darwin Núñez could be a good player for someone. No one's ever doubted
that. Not us.
He can be. He's just not at the level of Liverpool. But by the way, not many are. Not many people are at the level.
Do you guys think he would be a good player in the Premier League for a team that just counters?
I think
because I feel like if we played at home, like you say, Burnley, right? Do you think we would be like, God damn, this guy's a pain in the ass if we played against them and he was their guy up top that they just kept playing the ball long to?
There's hundreds of players like that, though, Tim. I always go back to like the Jermaine Defoe and Robbie Keane part. Jermaine Defoe being the perfect argument. Tremendous Premier League player, by the way. Great striker. Never played for the top four club because he wasn't at the level.
Yeah.
Let's be straight. Unfortunately, Robbie Keane was the same. Came for Liverpool 6 months and got blown out. Whether you like it or not, because he wasn't at the level doesn't mean he's not. He could go if he was at Spurs, mate, and you watch him on Match of the Day. You'll go, he's unbelievable. He's a Match of the Day player. Like he can have those days for you. That's all he is, and it's fine. By the way, I always say this: as long as you come in and put the effort in at Liverpool, that's completely fine. You get fucked off after 2 years, no problem. You weren't at the level, you weren't good enough. That's fine. But again, there's only about 40 players in the world who were good enough. So there's not many about who were good enough for Liverpool. Yeah. So I just think
he just signed. He got the right apartment in town. He signed with the wrong club.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
No, he could have scored goals at Everton. He would have scored in Sean Dyche's shitty Everton. He would have been exactly the striker he wanted.
Yeah,
you'd be idolised there. You'd be idolised there because they idolised Richarlison and he's banged average. So I just think again, it's fine to not be good enough for Liverpool. By the way, we shouldn't just. I haven't been a fan of him 3 months in. I writ him off 3 months into his Liverpool career.
Yep.
But he'll go on. He'll have a lovely career. Everyone, and by the way, you get all those dickhead fans going, look, he's proving all you guys wrong. He wasn't. He's had 3 years at Liverpool. He wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. It's fine.
I don't think we can complain about not getting enough chances and opportunities and stuff like that. We
gave him
the summer. We gave him time to learn English. We gave him like minutes. We gave him another manager, another system.
I've never seen a player, by the way, who's had so many chances.
Yeah, 100%.
So many chances, mate. He can't sit there and say, I didn't get a shot there at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Fuck me, fella, you've had more than anyone I've ever seen.
Luis Alberto left Liverpool, played in the low end of Spain, then ended up in Italy. 2 years, he led all of Europe in goals created and assists. It doesn't change the fact he wasn't good enough for Liverpool. And that guy got like 4 appearances, and Rodgers was like, get him the fuck out of here. He's never good enough.
Mate, Argo Aspas leaves Liverpool and goes
prime example.
The La Liga got leading goal scorer the year after, or 2 years later. So again, it's fine. I've had enough of this thing of like, that's it now. His whole career's writ off. You weren't good enough for Liverpool. You're going to have a lovely fucking life and a wonderful career. We'll see it in the World Cup. You'll score 6 goals in the World Cup, might get a golden boot or something daft like that, and everyone goes, fucking nice, please, you don't want. He wasn't. He was shite. Move on.
Yeah, more power to him. And I don't think like it's not a guy that I will like watch. Like if I watch him, I'll watch him. I don't think it's not a guy that any Liverpool fan is going to root against or whatever. He's had his moments, he's had his goals and stuff like that. You can't fault the effort. It's just not, like you're saying, just not good enough. And you're just one of another couple of thousand center forwards who are good, but just not good enough. I mean, it is what it is. And that's what makes, the job of like recruiting for Liverpool difficult, because it's not about getting good players that look good over there. Are they going to be good enough to get into Liverpool, especially this Liverpool that's already good?
And this is the point of going back to like players like Frimpong, who looks great, but is he good enough for Liverpool? That's the conversation. Is he good enough? Can he do the job? I don't know. We don't know. That's why you got to find out. Let's get it right. By the way, we have players come to Liverpool with high reputations and come and absolutely sink, and just haven't got, like, you know what I mean? And that's Naby Keita, for example.
I was just about to say Naby.
I know.
Nuri Sahin
comes with a fucking level like that, and then just sinks, and that's fine, because that's the pressure of playing for Liverpool.
Kabak comes to mind. No,
Mate,
that's that Turkish level.
Yeah, there's players like that all around the world, fella, and I've got no issue with it. I hope Darwin goes on, has a lovely career. Really do. Just not playing for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean?
And that's injured, man, but I still feel like if we signed Ferdi Kadıoğlu, right back, right wing, left wing, all over the freaking place. But the dude, we injured him actually. He got injured in that cup game, and but he scored that banger against us in the league. But yeah. Oh, before I forget, new sponsor, awesome ass shirts. I'll shoot the link in the comments. If you have not grabbed them already, head on over there, and you can see our other swag stuff at the same time while you're there. But yeah, these two designs are obviously for number 20 over there, so they're pretty cool. So glad to have them aboard. Gentlemen, on the way out, score predictions.
Cal?
3-1 victory.
2-1 Chelsea.
Really?
Sometimes a team needs 3 points more than you.
And
yeah, that's fair. I mean, they definitely do.
I think sometimes a team might want it more. I don't think the intensity will be there as high as we want it to be. If the same intensity as it was against fucking Spurs, then we'll run all over them. But I just don't think that intensity is going to be there. I just think that, Liverpool are allowed to take their foot off the gas a little bit and kind of make a few changes. And I think it'll be a bit disjointed and a bit, weird for the first hour at least. So 2-1 Chelsea probably.
I'll go 2-1, but the good guys. I mean, part of me doesn't care. I'm really watching for Mo getting his more numbers and his records and stuff like that. But part of me would make me more proud seeing some professionalism and keep going, taking care of business at the same time. And, add to the point totals and make it even more. I mean, I don't think people who question it are going to question anyway. They're not going to be like, oh, they got another 12 points or whatever. But I think, I just want to see the professionalism. I guess that's what I would be after. So that's why I think rotation would be good.
Yeah.
And then, you get those guys to kind of like earn their stripes and stuff like that too. But we'll be here Sunday, possibly for the watch along, but definitely for the pre-match over here. So enjoy Saturday. Man, I was looking at the schedule, like there's literally nothing that I would want to watch on Saturday. It has been
actually
neutral. It has been the dud of a season, to be honest.
We've got thingy tonight, haven't we? City Wolves.
Yeah, we got City Wolves.
Yeah, that's a decent game to watch.
Wolves are flying, mate.
Wolves playing great. That Vitor Pereira, man. You talk about a guy coming in. If only United knew how to hire Portuguese managers to come in and take over mid-season and turn around and sorry. Oops.
Actually, watch Vitor. I've been saying this for the last month or two.
Before we go,
the guys he brings in this summer to that club, like cheap ass guys, that will be really, really good.
Before we go, do you reckon that the United Spurs final could be the highest scoring final of all time? Just two teams who can't defend and just like 5-5. I'm banged into it. I want this final badly just for my own personal fun for 90 minutes. It's tremendous.
I just want Spurs to win because I don't even want United backing into the.
I'm really into them getting in Europe. I'm really into the idea of them just finishing bottom of that.
You want them to have a tougher schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Just give them an extra 8 games. The squad's shite, and then you just lose every single game in there and just finish bottom. I just find
in some ways, they would have to they need 10 Champions League worth of money to fix what they got going right now. But still, they're just. I would like them to kind of like. I would, and the Tottenham winning a trophy would be kind of like nice for them, I guess. And
the best part is Tottenham winning a trophy and everyone taking the victory laps. the Arsenal fans getting their asses sucked in because they don't win, and Spurs get a trophy, and they don't win a trophy in the year in which they called themselves like the Trophy X
scenario. That is a great scenario.
But on top of it, then you have United supporters like throwing up on themselves because for 2 weeks straight they're going to tell everyone, if this was anyone else in Europe, our shit team couldn't win, but we're playing Spurs and we're Man United. We don't lose finals. We win. And then to go lose a European Cup final to Spurs, like to be the club that lets Spurs win a major trophy. Like, I swear United would have rather lost that fucking Conference League to West Ham and David Moyes than they do losing to Daniel Levy and Spurs. And like just the idea of guys like James Madison, like just celebrating in the United players' faces, that to me would be just high level cinematic, excellence.
If the worst comes to worst and Arsenal win the European Cup, I'm banging to an Arsenal Spurs Super Cup final. I'm banging. I'm a sick son of a bitch. I'm a sick.
That actually would be entertaining, wouldn't it? Like that would be pretty good.
In a Super Cup final, give me all of it, please. Big slice of that pie for the mornings. Thank you.
Well, that's it for us today. Do tune in Sunday morning. Once the lineups come up, we'll be here for the pre-match. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the fact that whatever happens during the Premier League scores, it does not affect us at all. There's nothing for you to watch because you're already rooting for the champions, and we got it in the bag with a freaking month to go. But have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Take care.